All right, y'all. I was having some technical difficulties. I don't know how far I got through the cast, but we can start again. I believe now that's for later. We're not gonna look into that right now. But again, this is a hold on. We're just gonna keep going. Yeah, this is Mudhuta Mashiki E Nahagaduduk El. Of the United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors. Peace and love to everybody out there today. I believe today is Sunday, January 7th, 2019. Hope everybody had a good holiday, good Children's Day, good Christmas, good New Year's, whatever you celebrate out there. However, I want to jump right into the topic of the show, which is the word Moor and where it came from, and then kind of tying that word into ancient Sumer, which ties into ancient Tamare. So without any further delay, or hopefully no technical glitches, let's go ahead and put some music in the background for you guys. Alright, so first thing I want to jump into is the word Moor, Maur. I took the luxury of getting some photos from a book called Ancient Egyptian Dictionary right here. Know what I mean? That's volume 1 and volume 2. And so y'all can see very clearly the word Ma'ur, if I'm saying it right, it's a Demotic word, which is obviously a black Moorish word, right? Its origins are obviously, well, not obviously, but they're in Tamare. Because again, this is a Egyptian hieroglyphic dictionary, not an English, not a Greek, and not a Latin dictionary or definitionary, as the master teacher likes to say. So, but that word is very similar to this word, which is mauros, which is a Greek word, and we all know we taught the Greeks as ancient Tamarans. So when you look at the word Moor, derived from the Greek word mauros, right, meaning black or very dark, which in Latin became mauro, plural mauri. So keep that in mind when we look at this word. You can see the etymology of the word right there. This take away this aleph, or Nuwaubic is satuch. Take this away, this glottal stop, and you got the word Moor, like here, the same dictionary, the word Maur, which we can already see the M, the AUR, is what the Greeks incorporated into their word, because that word derives from ancient Tamare. And more interestingly, it means the title of the high priest of Anu. So I'm hearing a lot of brothers talk about, Anu is like a flesh-eating reptilian. And this doesn't mean that he's not, but I also don't see any proof that he is, and that's probably going against what the master teacher is saying right now. But I'm just using my reasoning and logic to come to a conclusion in this situation. Now, this is just for me, or anybody interested, any Nuwaubians or Nuwaubians that are interested in this. You may play one side against the other. I have very little to do with that. But in my own research, I'm finding that no, the European didn't call us Moor. We were calling certain people in our society Moor, and that name could have took on when we started to encounter a lot of the Caucasians, we could have taken that word to say, we're all children of the Most High. We're all part of the Most High. So we're Moors. And given that the original man was a dark Melanite, then we just kind of took on that word, because the Anu, if you look back at some of the steles, the Sumerian, the gods were calling the people they created the black-headed people, right? So I'm just trying to tie all this in. And then I hear the master teacher say, no, the European started calling us Moor, right? But then I hear Dr. Ben Yakinen also talking about, no, we told them to call us Moors. You know what I mean? So there's two different opinions on that done through research. I don't think it's conjecture or inference. I think it's, two people think they're right. I tend to think that this is our word, right? Because where I'm looking from, the source predates Greek interventions, so, and we go back 10,500 years BC, and even before then, and millions of years before that. But I'm just trying to stick to a shorter timeline, that I would have to come to the conclusion that the word Maur, which turned into the word Mauros, and then Morenos, and then the English word Moor, but it all started from right here, so again, I'd have to draw the conclusion that that's our word. So when I call you a Moor, I would be calling you by your correct name, race, the title of your race, Moor. And that also goes back to the ancient Egyptians, right? Oh, hold on, let me open this back up, because if this is an ancient Tamarean, sometimes my computer runs slow with this program running. All right. So anyway, we looked at the definition. We seen that it was the title of the high priest of Anu, but that's in a Tamarean dictionary. So Anu, okay, there it goes. Anu was being praised in Tamarean society, right? So they must have been pretty tight with Sumer to actually praise the deity Anu, who was the Most High, who was Elyon Elyon El. That turned into Elyon Elyon El when the Egyptians left. What Thutmose, Thutmose, or but it would be Mose. We don't just say Mos, because they didn't speak English. They don't have any silent letters. So, and neither does Nuwaubic. Nuwaubic has no silent letters. And as far as I know, Nuwaubic, we don't have no silent letters either. So it's Thutmose. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is the two cultures were connected. So I don't think it's right to say, everybody has their opinions. I don't think it's right to say that, we're just going to move past and Sumerianism. But to me, Sumer is a culture. It was a nation. It wasn't a religion. If you want to give, if they had a religion, the name would be probably Anunnakiism or something like that, because that's like saying United Statesism. Doesn't really mean anything. So it's not really Sumerianism, it's Anunnakism. That's how I would differentiate it and characterize it in my own mind. But however, I just wanted to make the point, what I'm saying, where my head's at. And I also wanted to get into the fact that I was watching these intelligent brothers on here. I've been watching a lot of Pod to Rocks and stuff lately. The Woo Nuwaubian channel with the Outformation classes. Man, my computer is running really slow. Okay, well, we're gonna have to wait for this to pop up. But with all this kind of going on between the UN and M and the UNN. My theory is it's kind of like, what was that? It's kind of like, well, Pops couldn't really talk or do anything with the UN and M because the court order came down. Unfortunately, when they stuck those charges to him, he couldn't have any, with the RICO thing, he couldn't have anything to do with UN and M, which is that was a sad day. You know what I mean? Because now I think for him to write the books, they had to create another organization. The UNN sounds very similar, except for the word Moor was taken out. And I was watching another video by Damian Pryor, or aka Deuce of York, saying that the Moors didn't come help Pops. So the Moors didn't come help Pops. So Pops got mad and took the word Moor out of everything from henceforth. But I'm like, that doesn't make sense. That was his opinion. Because I can't write Pops, I can't talk to Pops. Very few people can. However, I just did the video on the ECOWAS case about a month ago. So, and those were Africans, right? 'Cause I know they like to use the word African now in the UNN. So does that mean that Pops doesn't like Africans because they ruled against him? You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not sure if Pops even said the thing about Moors or whatever, but he changed his mind somewhere. I don't know if that was the reason, but if that was the reason that Damian Pryor said, then does he hate Africans now, or does not like Africans because they ruled against him in the ECOWAS case? That would be an interesting question to ask, because that would be kind of discriminatory against people who call themselves Moors and then people who call themselves Africans too. So I don't think you could really blame a group of people for what happened, except for for the Caucasian. That's it. So I don't know about that, but this intelligent brother right here, he's gonna start talking about like the holy tablets. How Pop says the holy tablets is expired, and he's gonna get into notices about when Pops put out those notices about, I received another book. This other book was the Black Book. You know what I mean? And he's gonna talk about how the Black Book. Well, I'll let you guys listen, and you can form your own opinion from there.
Expiration is what he said. So he said, so now we're at the point where we're beyond that. It has expired as far as that is concerned. We have a lot of people.
Let me go back.
Jehovah's Witness a few weeks back.
Is the holy tablets back here?
No, it's not. And the reason why that is, and you about to have me segue right into something that's so necessary. Matter of fact, we're going to speak on that.
Okay.
The master teachers explained that the holy tablets, the purpose of the holy tablets is the expiration of their religion. So he says, so what it did was it shows that that's the expiration and the explanation of their religion's expiration is what he said. So he said, so now we're at the point where we're beyond that. It has expired as far as that is concerned. We have a lot of people who have an issue when we say that. You understand? Because what it is within that period of time, we were still in the school of Sumerianism. So a lot of what we have within the holy tablets was geared towards the school or degree of Sumerianism, right? So therefore, like you even hear it when you hear a bunch of the questions that are coming from online. Mm-hmm. People are referring to Anu, right? Because from a Sumerian perspective, Anu is as high as it goes. But our ancestors exist before Sumeria.
Right.
You understand? That was a stopping point along the way. Don't believe me? Let's check it out. I don't know how familiar you are with the classes online, but we'll say this. Not just our classes online, but just online in general, and really just people in general, we have a lot of people who have walked with the master during degrees, right? But what happens is sometimes people fall in love with the degree and they don't want to move forward. Our master teachers taught us from the very onset that the only guarantee, the only thing that is constant, the only thing that we know is constant is change.
Nature is change.
You understand? So what happens is you have people who get to a point to where they forget that that's a constant. So now their minds are so locked in because they fell in love with one school, not knowing that we have an ultimate point to go to, but these are the stopping points along the way. And Sumerianism being one of our, what we would consider to be one of the most profound schools that we were in, because we stepped outside of the thought process of what religion was. It's not one God. Elohim is Hebrew Strong's number 430. That means it's multiple beings. So then if we go to the Enuma Elish or the Atrahasis, we see we're talking about multiple beings. See, over here in the Cuneiform form, this is talking about Anunnaki. But that's talking about a group of beings. That's one account for one group of beings. And they landed in Mesopotamia. Our ancestors aren't from Mesopotamia. That's not where our ancestors landed. So we have to start putting these facts in place. So before I get too far away, let's first and foremost prove, based on what our master teachers taught, and I have to do it in this way, you may not understand at this moment.
However, he's talking about Mesopotamia, but all the ancient civilizations of Mesopotamia, like the Sumerians, the Akkadians, the Midianites, I'm missing one there, the Babylonians, were Moors. So that's not totally true. They were Moors. Even the ancient Persians were Moors. Zoroaster was a Moor. Even though if you look on the internet, you'll see a whole bunch of Caucasoid pictures of Zoroaster, but it's the same thing they tried to do with Yeshua, Jesus. You know, the main Jesus. You know, there's 3 different Jesuses in the Bible, but the main Jesus, of course, was a Moor. And, you know, they paint the pictures how they wanted to paint them, but you can't fall for that one. So let's keep going.
Right. But everybody online who does know, they should hopefully, you know, the diligent amongst us should be able to appreciate why we're doing what we do. Sometimes people get really aggravated with us as Nuwaubians. The master teachers taught us that the reason why we do what we do the way we do, because we have to give explanations, we have to give examination, we have to investigate. We have to be able to give descriptions. We have to be able to give definitions. We have to be able to do all that. That's why it's taking him so long to get us to the point where we are now. So I might be having a conversation with a person, they asked a question and they thought it was so simple, but now I'm giving them definitions and this, that, and the third, and now they like, you're doing too much. It's like, I'm not trying to do too much. I'm just trying to make sure that no stone is unturned to the best of my ability, because you're going to come back and you're going to ask me a question that I could have actually set the way for you to be able to not even have to ask. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? So, is Sumerianism just a degree? This book right here is called Pashtutat.
And it really should be called Anunnaki.
The master teacher wrote this book. See, because many people have a problem with the fact that we're getting information while a master teacher's been incarcerated, kidnapped from us, as if to say that people that are incarcerated can't make phone calls, people that are incarcerated can't write letters, people that are incarcerated can't be visited, which becomes real preposterous when you think about the fact that we have like Mumia Abu-Jamal, who has a radio show, or he can do a commencement speech for a graduation.
I think they've canceled
or they may have canceled it, but the fact that it existed lets you know that it was possible to get information out from behind the wall.
Right.
So that means we set the precedent. When we talk about Tookie Williams, when we talk about Nobel Peace Prize writing children's books, you see what I'm saying? We're talking about information coming in from behind the walls, but yet someone wants to limit us at this point now and tell us that Patababi Yanun, with all the information that has to be given to us in this day and time, that we can't receive more information?
No.
Right. So we have to make sure we address that, because it's being put out there so hardcore in the rumor mills, if you would, right? But we're speaking to Sumerianism real quick. Inside of this book, which everybody who knows Pal Shatat was written while our master teacher was still here with us. So let's let him say what he said about Sumerianism then, before they kidnapped him. It says on page 3 of the Ashutat scroll, I stressed in 1967, before establishing the first community in 1970 AD, that I came giving you what you want, so you would learn to want what I have to give. Well, we have reached the end of the 30-year period, broken up into three steps of 10 years each, and we moved on into the higher knowledge, the overstanding. You should have mastered the knowledge compiled into 3 books: the degree of Mosesism, the degree of Christism, the degree of Mohammedism, and each one of them books are like over 1,000 pages each. This thing is like this, each one of those degrees, right? And with those 3, the rudimentary degrees of the lesser mysteries have become of age to move on from 3 to the 4 degrees of the middle chamber. Sufism, Kabbalahism. Let me read about the number. 1, Sufism. 2, Kabbalahism. 3, Magiism. And 4, Sumerianism. Then on into the 7 degrees, which covered all of the Sumerian and Far Eastern studies embodied in the Sons of the Green Light, Sufi order, and the ancient and mystic order of Melchizedek, the Essene or Magi order. Completing those 4 degrees will now prepare you to open the 8th chamber on into the 9th chamber of the ancient Egyptian order. On the back of many of our oldest books, the master teacher had a symbol called a pyramid of truth. Up under the pyramid of truth, you had all these different symbols pertaining to different philosophies, teachings, doctrines, dogmas. But at the very top, just like you see on the wall over there at the top of that pyramid there, you see the Eye of Re. You saw an Egyptian symbol at the top, just like you see that eye right there over here on this wall, at the top of the wall. At the very top, as the pinnacle of all information, the master teacher has always taught us that Egypt was the point of all the information. It was the pinnacle of all of that information. Sumerianism falls under that. So now when we start to explain certain things that we're explaining about the Anunnaki, and they're not being as related to us as we were previously taught because we were in that degree. Just like if I'm in school and they're teaching me regular math inside of 1st grade or in kindergarten, and you say 2 minus 2 is what? 0. Then you say, well, 2 minus 3. They say, well, you can't do that because 3 is higher than 2. You can't take 3 away from 2. In basic math, that's the first thing they'll teach you when you're in elementary school.
Absolutely.
As to not confuse you. Because in the degree of mentality that you're in at that point, you wouldn't be able to grasp the other side of 0 yet. You understand?
Yeah.
So that means as you gradually move within the schools, then you are now more prepared to take on higher levels of information. You understand? So when it comes down to Sumer, there are higher levels of information that our master teacher has always pointed to. When you ask what's the name of our bookstore, it's not All Eyes on Sumer. You understand? The master teacher has never made a bookstore named All Eyes on Sumeria. It's always been All Eyes on Egypt, spelled with an I. And those of us that know, we know why.
In the order.
You understand?
Yeah.
So the thing is, there are a lot of people who are saying different things where they're trying to keep us locked into an old school while we're getting more detailed information. Now, let's speak to what the master. Well, there's another issue. I heard this particular.
He about to get into the black book right now.
Had questions about one of the things that our master teacher had taught us dealing with the constellation as we know it of Orion. Okay, with this particular constellation that we see as 7 stars, right, with the 3 stars in the belt that just so happen, right, to be able to be perfectly aligned with the 3 pyramids of Giza, right? Just so happens, right, that our ancestors' ability to have the exact angle of each one of the points on these pyramids to where you can literally see heaven on earth if you're looking at it from a sky point of view. Right? We just so happen to choose those in that connection, right? We just so happen to do that, right? We made a mistake and it just happened to be that perfect, right? As our connection to that particular star constellation, right? But you have people who are literally saying things like, we're only staying stuck to Egypt because we're trying to keep a connection to this particular star constellation, right? But what they're doing now, being that the master teacher is giving us higher levels of information, they're saying things like, and I know you're not familiar with this point, so this is for everybody else with you. You just along for the ride, so let's ride, because you kind of took me there, right? They're saying the newest information or the most up-to-date information that our master teacher taught us was that the 3 stars that you see as the belt of Orion are in fact the 3 suns around the planet which our master teacher has always taught us that he's come from, called the planet Risk, which is in the 19th galaxy, called Ilion, right? And it's a trisolar solar system, meaning that it's got 3 suns, right? So he explained, and he even gave the diagram. He gave the diagram and sent that down for us to be able to show. And then he sent this diagram down in letters, right? So from the information that he sent, we explained from here that that was the latest information that we have received. I've heard that there are, individuals, and it's no disrespect because, the thing is, of course we're supposed to go and do our research with each other. Of course. We're supposed to ask questions and things of that nature. That's being diligent, and we respect that. What happens is people will take the mind frame of just studying as the master teacher taught us. Don't believe me? Check it out. And what they'll do, every time we're in a transition from one school to another, they'll try to use what he taught them against him. You see? So they'll try to use it against him, and he's the one that taught them that, right? But I heard that it was said, and I don't like to go by hearsay, but this is a conversation that we were having, that a person says that it's totally illogical for that to even be the case, for the 18th and 19th galaxy to be able to be linked by way of these particular stars. So going into when the master says that the Holy Tablets is expired or needs to be brought up to date, a person says that we're making up things when it comes down to the Holy Tablet, as if the Holy Tablet was the total culmination of all the information that our master teacher has come to teach us. He came to teach us 76 trillion years worth of information. If we were to ask those who are diligent, has the master teacher taught us everything that he came to teach us? The answer would have to be no, right?
Right.
But in a class called Little Green Men, this was a lecture from 1998.
And by Savior's Day, we'll start with chapter 1, verse 1, explaining this holy tablet. But here's the problem. Another book has come through, right? It's as thick as this and more detailed. You follow? By the time you get here, you're going to be going to another whole book. They're sending information that's been long lost in time to come back. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, there's another book called the Black Book that I started to, if you was on the internet, I gave you the chapter and verse. I started to send the verse to, and I said, whoop. I held it back and I just answered the question because I didn't want to put it into the internet so the devils can get out on it. You know, until we get it to your hands. So I get to you, don't worry about it. There's nothing that I've been sent here to tell you that they're going to ever be able to prove wrong. Nothing.
The master teacher had
Yeah, that's true. The Black Book did come out after the Holy Tablets, obviously, and this brother, he gonna get into it. That the Black Book, that the physical Black Book that most Nuwaubians have, that at least for in the AEO and even the higher. Once you get into the AEO is just a gateway into the higher schools of learning. But once you get into the higher schools of learning, once you get into the gate, there's even more orders. So, and I think that was for the order of Waset. But anyway, the Black Book is only half of the first chapter of 19 chapters that the master teacher wrote. That's pretty rare to find. It is pretty rare. So, he's gonna expound on that. But it's amazing that the master teacher could write as many books as he can. And just to add on to that point, the Paterox, man, the Negro stuff, I can't really subscribe to that, because you know about the 14th Amendment. You know, when the European came over here, after we showed him how to get over here, there was a navigator called Peter de Negro that showed Columbus how to get over here. You know, they called us Morenos, and then they called us Blackamoors, and then they called us black, and then they called us basically nigger. So that was a de-evolution all the way down to the word nigger. That's why I don't like the word negroid. I'm not a negroid. Y'all could be negroids and coloreds and blacks and whatever you guys want to be. Me, I'm a Moor. That's my proper title. I told you where the word came from. It came from ancient Tamare. That's who we are. I'm not sure, you know, Pops must be pretty pissed to go from Moor back to basically nigga to Negro. Negroid, or I think in Nuwaubian is Nagaru. I don't subscribe to none of that. I could never subscribe to that. I would feel like that's a disrespect to me, my family, my bloodline. Were more than that. And the only reason the word Negro was used was to strip away your rights as a human being and to take control of your land. Take control of your land that belongs to you. But then with the UN, I don't get it. The UNN says, oh, we're yamasi, right? But I don't really see anything yamasi about them. And they say they're from Africa. So you would have to go back to Africa and petition that nation for land. You can't come from Africa over here and then say you're indigenous. That doesn't make sense. You'll never win with that argument in court. It will not work. It will never work. I know what's in the Paterox, but it's not going to work. No court would ever listen to that. But like, you're in the wrong jurisdiction. You need to go back to your country, go back to Egypt, present day Egypt, and petition them right now for land. That's how you would have to do that. But see, as Yamasi, you could petition for land in this country that they're calling the United States now. But it seems like it's a little confused for them. It's a little confusing. So, because legally, that ain't gonna work. Oh, we're Negroids, and no. The judge is gonna be like, dismissed. Dismissed. You're Negroes. That means you're stateless people, right? That means you're a stateless person. You fall under the 14th Amendment, and you're a citizen of Washington D.C. You're not even a citizen of a state. So that would set you back so far that I can't even explain it in words. That would set you guys back so far. However, I don't want to veer off my point here about the Black Book, about Anu, how Anu is a flesh-eating reptilian, the romanticism with Egypt, and I have a love for Tamare too. But our people were in Mesopotamia. They were Babylonians. They were Israelites. They were Yehudites. They were Ethiopians. They were South Africans. I mean, we did walk over here when the continents were all one millions of years ago, even before the Olmecs. But we give them the Olmecs because that's the only thing that the Caucasian can trace. You know, because our history goes back so far, just like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, it go back so far that they can't reference that time. You understand? You overstand? They cannot reference that time. So when we put in our UNM Constitution about Moropithecus, Kenyan Pithecus, and this is for the United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors, that Dr. Malachi Z. York L. wrote, and people helped write that too, not just him by himself, people helped him write. Okay, So we got that out of the way with. We walked over here, Genawa, which they call, what do they call that, man? Pangea. They call it Pangea. Same thing. All the continents were one millions of years ago. There's the continental breaks. The earth crust starts moving. Continents break apart. Volcanoes erupt. New land forms. Whatever, right? 5 million years ago, we walked over here. We didn't have to take a ship. We just walked. And we kept migrating, right? And then when the continent split, we just drifted over here with the North America and South America. Why is that so hard for people to understand? Why is it we're going back to everybody is from Africa? Now maybe when the continents were one, the part that's Africa now, maybe it started there. Okay, but now we migrated west, right, into North America and South America, Amexem and Atlan, or Turtle Island. Well, I don't understand why that's so hard to understand. Why are we going back to being Negroes? That puzzles me, but I'm gonna let the brother
Explain
continue.
that there was another book that was coming after the Holy Tablets had come, which was thicker and more detailed than the Holy Tablets, which this right here is the first half of the first chapter of that book. This is called the Black Book, or the Sacred Records of Atum Re, right? In the introduction to this particular book, not even in the book all the way, but in the introduction, he explains on, let's see, what is this? 1, 2. This is the third page, not even numbered, it's just totally in the introduction. It says, the first ones to be warned by the guardian beings called Etherians about the dangers were the 9 Enneads, and they in turn warned the 24 Natirat supreme beings, or Natharu, who warned the 144 Afretiad pharaohs. Crafts were prepared for these elders to depart this planet for another planet in the same galaxy, Ilion.
Right.
For another planet in the same galaxy, Ilion. Remember we said this was the 19th galaxy. They headed for one of the 18 other planets in the 19th galaxy, Ilion. This planet was Septet. So Siptu, that which shares the 18th and 19th galaxy, the link between the two. You call it Sirius, and whom the Greeks call Sothis, having 2 moons, and its sister system, Mertzam. We went there in order to prepare a plan and solution of the problem on our home planet before its total destruction, which would have resulted in a star holocaust and a total destruction of the 18th galaxy, the Milky Way, where you presently reside. So within the introduction to the Black Book, which the Master Teacher explains, is more updated, detailed information than the Holy Tablets from February 15th, 1998, when he had that lecture, right? From that point, he explained that there was more details that needed to be given, and he said that this was thicker than the Holy Tablets. What we've learned is that the Black Book is actually 19 chapters. Remember what I told you? This right here, the Black Book that I'm holding, this is only the first half of the first chapter.
That's amazing, though, because that's a lot of information.
And what's being circulated out on the internet that has leaked from people who couldn't hold something that was supposed to be trustworthy with the second degree of this, holding the second half of the first chapter, it's been leaked onto the internet, but that's still only the rest of the first chapter. We got 18 more chapters. And people are saying that we don't have more information to receive. You understand? This is the type of thing that we have to do.
All right, I'm just gonna end it right there, but I guess my stance is still the same about Anu. Still the same, especially the same about the word Negro. I can't even tell you how offended I am. If someone ever walked up to me and called me a Negro, we'd have some words to exchange. We would really have some words to exchange. Or a colored person, something like that. No, I'm much greater than that. And this division, I don't think the division between the UNNM and the UNN is healthy. I just don't think it's healthy. and this is UNM is, you know, is a nation. It's not a school of thought. It's a way of life. So, and since we're basically almost living the same lifestyle and culture, the division between the two organizations, well, the UNN, as far as I'm concerned, and when I do my research, is a corporation. It's a LLC, and the UNM is a nation. But anyway, the two organizations that are fighting over basically doctrine, or I guess there's no fight. There's just a natural split between the two organizations, which is not good, man. I suggest that we all come together for the prosperation of our own people. But, you know, certain people want to lock down access to Dr. Malachi Z. York, or maybe it was the Colorado, you know, maximum state prison that's doing that. I don't know. I'm not there. I can only speculate, but it's not good for brothers and sisters to be separated. That's how the devil wins. Pops always said unity. So anyway, I like the Pontarox in the perspective and the point of view that he talks about like not mixing. I love that. I love the genetics of it. I love the sounds, the tones, the vibrations. He gets deep with that stuff. And I'm studying it. You know, I'm looking at it, but I have to have a filter on when I read about all the Negro stuff. You know, we're Africans. Pops always taught us the word Africa comes from the word Ifriqua, and that means to divide. So when you're saying African, you're calling out the tones to divide not only yourself, but your whole organization. That's the word African. That's what the word Africa entails. You know what I'm saying? So that I don't think that's right there. And I would love for someone to come on and challenge me or comment about it. I'm not agreeing with that right there. The whole African and Negro thing, to me, you can throw that stuff away. I'm not listening to that. But as far as the knowledge and the history of the old ones and the ancient ones, that is on point. You know, that's on point. So, you know, unfortunately, when I read it, I have to have those filters on. But anyway, I've taken up too much time. I just thought this would be a good video. I was kind of thinking about this, looking at it for the last month or so. So let me end with Chala Anu Barokuk. That means let Anu bless you. And everybody have a great